Hello again, everyone. To another episode of Week with Will. I suppose I don't know where to start with it. I guess I'll just sort of get cracked into the week. Potentially, just sort of like the week before may not have been as exciting or adventurous as it were. It's sort of back to work. Well, I can't go back to work. I'm already back at work. Just got to continue on with work. So it would have been Monday and Tuesday would have been wrapping up with my CAD work from the previous sort of mentioned stay away in Bristol, which was sort of easy enough. It was sort of a very long stretch of road. So it was a rather large area, sort of covered fairly quickly, to be honest. So it was one that was definitely a stretch to get done, sort of deadline wise, based on the usual process of how we do things. Is usually, at least for a topographical survey wise, is 1 day on site is half a day in the office. So by that logic, a few days on site, or like 4 days on site, should mean 2 days in the office. So I did just about manage to get it all wrapped up at that time. Although it was definitely pushing the limits, should we say. And then, thankfully, back out onto site on the Wednesday, as I myself am someone that prefers being on a working site to being stuck in the office. I don't like being stuck behind a computer for too long. I'll get twitchy and edgy and will always look for things to do instead of my actual thing that I need to do. It's a habit I think I'm getting better on, but I still wouldn't say I'm very great on. So you back out on site, sort of in a sort of small village, sort of around Essex, potentially looking at, I believe, a solar farm. So the site was a very, very long stretch of road, about 500 plus meters, and 2 absolutely huge fields. Now, thankfully, this is quite remote, although on a quite fast road, so you could just sort of rock up at your own time, get cracking. You're not going to be bothered by anyone because there's no houses nearby, so you don't have to have awkward conversations with clients, which is sort of the one thing I don't enjoy about my job, is sort of people asking me, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's not me trying to be horrible and to sort of say, well, this, and this, and it sort of that can always lead to arguments and disagreements, because it's sort of, well, not in my backyard. I want this to be nice and empty and for nothing to happen with this land. Unfortunately, people who own the land, it's their decision. If they want to make money from it in whatever way, through development, for example, they're more than entitled to do so. It is their choice. And providing it doesn't break any rules, which there are obviously rules in place, then it can go ahead. So, nice, remote. It's just sort of one that's, and over multiple days as well. It's not one that you should feel, if it's a job just done on a singular day, you feel more restricted by the timeline. Whereas I think you've got multiple days, you can sort of say, right, well, I'm going to absolutely hammer at it first day, and then potentially have easier days sort of looking at it, and so on like that. It gives you some flexibility. So potentially, if you need to do something urgently in the evening, you can start a little bit earlier because you're not restricted by anyone sort of not getting you onto site. So it's sort of the ideal topographical survey. There was no sort of major issues over accessibility through vegetation or sort of blocked gates or anything like that. So I could happily sort of crack on with this as a job from Wednesday through to Thursday, obviously being very mindful of the sun. I haven't managed to successfully turn into a squashy like my friends often sort of sometimes say that I do with my arms. So I consider that sort of pretty good. I've been told I tan fairly well, I guess. Maybe not necessarily intentionally. So yes, that was quite enjoyable. and then managed to get in to process the job a day early, a day ahead of schedule, because it's a big open area. Wasn't heavy on detail. It was more time spent traversing, sort of getting up and down and around the site. Managed to get it done ahead of schedule. Managed to then process my information along with my colleagues' information, as though I had two other colleagues along the site to assist, obviously make sure the job gets completed on time. Obviously it did. Colleague sort of had the Friday off, so I managed to do some of the processing and things sort of with him before he sort of went off. The ability to join information through Enforce, which is obviously sort of software I've mentioned before, and I'm still obviously still learning in regards to sorting out strings to make sure that they all join up. Slight hiccup being that some of them wants to connect with a whole line. So if you do a long sort of line along a road, it will then want to join up your end point to your start point, believing that it's all like that. Now, potentially there might be a nicer way to do this, whether it's a better use of the feature library we've been provided or not. That's obviously something to potentially work on. Starting to try out other ways of shooting and showing in information, which have been sort of successful. So previously, how I showed a manhole and topographical survey can be done through the simple use of different code or different string, which makes things far simpler and far easier to use. So as a whole, this information wasn't as we didn't need as much tidying up as the previous Bristol job, even though it was sort of a similar size to what the area that I myself covered, which was quite good. Learning to better understand some of the lines and strings to show the blocks required instead of just sort of the singular lines, i.e. to show trees, vegetation and hedges, the ability to use the blocks instead of just the line work and having to adjust it in CAD. All steps that in theory are going to get sharpened up, be quicker, be better for everyone to sort of use. I myself am still trying to push this a little bit throughout the office to try and get more people a little bit more involved in this. I'm going to be nice about it, but it's going to get to a point I'm going to sort of say, like, no, this needs to happen, because at the end of the day, this is software that in theory the whole company is shifting towards, and people will go back to what they know, what is secure, what is safe. And I get that, but you need to get out of your comfort zone and learn something and be able to learn something new. You can't constantly rely on the idea that nothing will ever change in a workplace, in a work company. There'll always be different means to process information or data, different ways of handling information or data. And this isn't just within the surveying industry. This could be any sort of computer-based role, whether you're sort of within sort of marketing or something, anything else. Literally, I could try and list through them all, but it would be a bit pointless. So it was quite a busy work week, one that didn't sort of stress and sort of challenge or like fatigue me too much, minus the heat itself, of course. And then we had sort of a nice break for the weekend with the return of the Premier League football. Unfortunately, I couldn't manage to get hold of an Ipswich ticket. They're very difficult to get hold of at the moment. It's a feel-good atmosphere. The crowd on TV looked absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, Ipswich didn't win. Everyone seems to be praising the Liverpool team afterwards. A little bit confused at that, because for 60 minutes, the Ipswich team had the better chances, and it's simply a case of their legs gone. It's not down to tactical brilliance by the new manager or amazing sort of tactics from swapping a centre-back over because the other one's a bit tired. I don't believe that for a second. I do not believe that for a second. I think some of the players got tired playing at a high level of intensity. I think the potential change for a right winger to the right back relieve the pressure on the Liverpool team in order for them to better attack the Ipswich team, and then obviously quality unfortunately showed through. Ipswich themselves need to learn to take chances. I'm not going to go too deep and heavy into football because I have a separate channel on that. But yes, so return of the football. Just a small continuation of sort of doing housework around, well, out and around the place, just sort of tidying up. Saturdays, I look sort of in the times within the morning and times between the football itself to do my work, keeping myself busy, keeping myself preoccupied, as if I have a day when I'm not doing too much, sitting on the sofa, slogging around. I don't get to sleep as well that night. I need to tire myself and to knacker myself out in some ways. And then for the evening on the Saturday, went out with a friend to Prado in Bury for a meal, and then off to the cinema to watch the new Borderlands film. I'm probably going to avoid the reviews at the moment, as I think that's an area I'm sort of struggling in videos wise. My overall summary of the film was it was a bit meh. I think the scenery and some of the musical scores were good. I don't suppose I could be critical on the acting, but I would be critical of the script. I think it probably let quite a few people down that enjoyed the game, and potentially let a few people down that just wanted to go and have fun with a good old-fashioned film. I don't see it as a film that's going to get a sequel, for potentially just down to a failure in the box office. There's been very few people to say how it was amazing. I think it sort of felt like it wanted to be a knockoff sort of Guardians of the Galaxy film. Many of the jokes themselves didn't land. It was a bit... I mean, if you don't take my word for it, you can always wait for it to come out, because I don't believe it in itself will have a much longer time within the cinema. I obviously watched it quite late. It had already been out for several weeks before we decided to watch it. So yeah, not one that I would recommend personally. After the Sunday, back to the gym. I seem to be getting in a good habit again of going on the Sunday mornings. I'm going to try and go to the gym later today. Fingers crossed, it should be fine. And then past that, sort of doing a little bit of work, and then to do my weekly shop, I suppose, as well. And then relaxing, laid out across the sofa, Super Sunday, a couple of cans, and just sit and chill and just relax. It's sort of where you need to just take a breather and relax, sort of on the Sundays. And sort of on top of that, after the games, just sort of playing Dead by Daylight with sort of a few friends. Sundays aren't really meant for stress. It's a bit of unwinding, and it's a bit of sort of self-preparation, sort of ready again for the Monday, which here we are. There's not much more to say than that. My songs, I'm struggling to find some sort of good happy songs, so this is something that I'd like people to get at in the comments below, if I can, to sort of recommend sort of good sort of happy songs. I'll try and give you a shout out as well, if that's possible as well. I've gone for one that I listened to today at work, as I had sort of I believe on Spotify it says Monday motivation playlist, and it managed to last throughout the day. It was a very long, very big playlist, which I'm happy for, as I hate having to get through one a day and then trying to find a different one which has the different songs and so on. So I've gone for Green Light by Lordi. It was sort of a song that I quite enjoyed when I was sort of a few years young when it came out. It's still sort of a bit of a bop, still very happy, very upbeat, from an artist that I've not really seen in quite a while now, so I'm kind of curious as to whether they're still alive. I'm assuming they are, but it's my happy song for the week. I will see you all later this week. I can see you later in the days. Hopefully you'll sort of follow me on the TikTok side of things with my sort of 100 push-up challenge. I believe it will be, well, the full week. It'll be day number 7 tomorrow, or today even. So yes, I'll catch you all later. Bye for now.